Up to now, the stories I've shared with you were born from ancient pacts, from whispered legends and fears hidden in the folds of folklore. These were secrets guarded by communities, by families, by traditions. But there's another kind of secret, a more modern, colder, and perhaps more relentless type, the corporate secret. Large industries, in their incessant search for resources, dig deeper than any explorer, map territories no government knows, and sometimes they find things that weren't on geological maps, anomalies that defy science and common sense. And when that happens, the protocol isn't superstition or prayer. It's a confidentiality agreement, a mass dismissal, a fabricated bankruptcy, silence bought with money and fear. What is the sound of fear? A scream? A pounding heart? A slamming door? We spend our entire lives associating terror with noise, with the unexpected, with the violent. But what if true terror isn't the sound, but its absence? What if absolute fear is a world of forced silence, where a simple sneeze, a cough, a word spoken aloud isn't just a social slip, but an instant death sentence? Today's story isn't about a mystery to be solved. It's a survival manual. It's the record of a woman's struggle in a world that has been permanently silenced. A world where humanity is no longer at the top of the food chain. Good evening, or good morning. I am the Unseen Archivist. The material I'm going to present to you today is one of the rarest and most distressing I've ever analyzed. It's a digital diary, recovered from a damaged hard drive, found in an exclusion zone in rural Yorkshire. The diary belongs to a woman named Eliza, and it narrates her desperate journey to save her son in a world invaded by creatures that hunt us by sound. Today, we won't investigate a case. We will witness a life, and we will learn, in silence, the true price of our voice. And before we take the first silent step on this journey, if you also value the sound of your own voice and the freedom to use it, leave your like as a tribute to that gift. And if you want to continue exploring the most extreme realities and the limits of human survival, subscribe to the Unseen Archivist channel and hit the bell. Your silent attention is the greatest homage we can pay to this story. Let's begin. In silence. Eliza's diary begins 1 year after what she calls the arrival. The archives give no details about the creature's origin, only that they appeared across the planet simultaneously. They are fast, have an armored carapace that makes them almost invulnerable to firearms, and are completely blind. But their hearing is their radar and their weapon. Superhuman hearing, capable of detecting a falling leaf hundreds of meters away. They are the personification of hunting by sound. I called them the Auditors. Eliza and her 8-year-old son, Tom, live on an isolated farm in rural Yorkshire. Her diary begins by describing the routine of absolute silence. Day 384, morning routine. We wake before the sun. I check the perimeter. No sign of them. Tom is still asleep. He makes no noise when he sleeps. He learned fast. I go down to the basement, our bunker. The soundproofing my husband, David, built still holds. The walls of mattresses and blankets are our sanctuary. Food is running out. Cans of preserved food are our treasure. Opening them is the most dangerous part of the day. The sound of metal. I wrap it in 3 cloths, but my heart stops every time. Our communication is in BSL, British Sign Language. David insisted we learn it in the very first month. He used to say our voice was our greatest enemy. Tom is fluent. Sometimes I think he's forgotten what it's like to speak, and maybe that's a blessing. The path to the river is our lifeline. David spent weeks covering the trail with coarse sand to muffle our footsteps. We walk barefoot, 1 step at a time. It takes us hours to go back and forth. The rule is clear. If you hear anything, freeze. If you see anything, don't run. Pray it hasn't heard you. The last entry about her husband is short and brutal. Day 291. David didn't come back from the river. I heard it. A single scream, distant, and then the sound of something large running through the woods. And silence. The silence that followed was the loudest sound I've ever heard in my life. The survival routine is broken by the most mundane of human tragedies, illness. Eliza's diary describes growing panic. Day 412. Tom is burning with fever. It's a nasty cough, full of phlegm, a chest infection. During the day, I can muffle his cough with cloths, but at night, every cough is an invitation to death. I don't sleep. I keep my hand over his mouth, feeling the tremor of his body, praying that the sound doesn't travel outside our basement. Day 414. He's worse. His breathing is a wheeze. I know what this is. It's the beginning of pneumonia. The medicines in our kit ran out months ago. There's only one place I can find more. The pharmacy in the ghost town, 10 kilometers from here. 10 kilometers of absolute silence in open terrain. The idea is suicide. David always said never to go to town. It's a sound trap, he'd say, glass, metal, echo. One false step and they'll all know where you are. But looking at my son, pale, sweating, struggling to breathe, the fear of losing him is greater than the fear of the creatures. From here, the diary becomes a manual of meticulous planning. Eliza describes her preparation for the most dangerous journey of her life. She spends an entire day just observing from afar, mapping the safest routes, the sections with more sand, the hollow trees where she could hide. She prepares her silent backpack, every item wrapped in cloths to make no noise. The knife, the water bottle. She sews inner pockets so nothing rattles. She prepares her feet. She wraps them in layers of thick fabric, like a ninja. And she prepares her distraction plan, a bag full of empty glass bottles. Her only weapon, sound, used as a tool, not a mistake. The last entry before leaving is heartbreakingly simple. Day 415. I'll go at dusk. The moon is waning, which helps. I left water and a little food for Tom. He's sleeping. Before leaving, I leaned in and whispered in his ear, the first word I've spoken aloud in months. I said, I'll be back. I love you. I hope he didn't hear. Eliza's journey through the abandoned town is the longest and most tense part of the diary. She narrates every step, every sound, every decision. The town at night is a graveyard of unmade sounds. The wind whistling through broken windows sounds like a scream. Every dry leaf dragging on the asphalt is a heart attack. I move in the shadows, from wall to wall, my whole body a hearing sensor. I saw them. On the main street, 2 of them. They were standing motionless, like gargoyles. Their carapace gleamed under the faint moonlight. Their head, which opens like a carnivorous flower, was closed. They were ... listening, waiting. The whole world to them is a dark stage, and they wait for one of the actors to miss their cue. Here begins what truly scares. To get past them, I had to use my first trick. I took one of the glass bottles from my bag, and with all my strength, I threw it as far as I could in the opposite direction. It flew through the air in silence. The sound of the bottle shattering was the most violent thing I'd heard in a year, and the reaction was instantaneous. The 2 creatures, which had been still, exploded into motion, a speed that doesn't seem natural. In less than 3 seconds, they crossed 100 meters and disappeared in the direction of the noise. I took advantage of the distraction. I ran, silently, to the pharmacy. The diary describes entering the pharmacy as the moment of greatest danger. An enclosed environment, full of glass, metal, and echo. A paradise for hunters. The door was ajar, creaking in the wind. I had to pass through it without touching it. Inside, the smell of medicines and dust. The shelves were full. Bottles, boxes, all covered by a thin layer of abandonment. Every step on the ceramic floor was a calculated risk. I felt as if I was defusing a bomb with my feet. Eliza finds the antibiotics section. She recognizes the name of the medicine she needs. Adrenaline makes her act fast. She grabs several boxes, stuffs them into her bag. She's almost made it. The mission is almost complete. And that's when disaster strikes. My hand was shaking. As I picked up the last box, my elbow brushed against a glass syrup bottle on the shelf above. I watched it fall in slow motion. I tried to catch it in the air. In vain. It hit the floor. The silence that followed was worse than the sound. I knew it was the end. I held my breath, and I listened, coming from outside. A scream, a sharp, hunting hiss, and the sound of claws on asphalt, approaching at an impossible speed. There was no time to flee. I looked around. The only option was to hide. I slid under the metal counter, crouching in the cramped space, praying that the darkness would conceal me. The creature enters the pharmacy. Eliza's diary describes the sound, the guttural click of its echolocation, the sound of its carapace scratching the shelves as it investigates. Eliza describes the terror of being inches from a monster that can hear you breathe, that can hear your heart beating. It stopped, right in front of my hiding place. Its head, that nightmare flower, opened. I could feel the vibrations in the air. It knew I was there. It was just waiting for me to make a mistake, a sob, a deeper breath. I was going to die there. It is at this moment that Eliza's intelligence, born of desperation, kicks in. She remembers her husband's notes. David was a sound engineer. He theorized that the creatures, with their hypersensitive hearing, might have a weakness. High-frequency sounds. Audio feedback, for example. On the floor, near her, lay an old customer's hearing aid, fallen from a box. It was an insane risk, she writes. With a slow movement, I picked it up, turned it to maximum volume, and threw it to the other side of the shop, near an old loudspeaker on the wall. The diary describes the creature's reaction. It lets out a scream of agony, not of hunting. The high-pitched sound disorients it, hurts it. The plates on its head open uncontrollably, exposing the red, vulnerable flesh inside. It's Eliza's chance. While the creature is incapacitated by pain, she slides out from under the counter and runs. Runs out of the pharmacy, out of town, without looking back. The last diary entry is short. Day 416. I came back. I succeeded. Tom took the medicine. The fever is going down. The sound of his calmer breathing is the most beautiful music in the world. Today, we survived. I don't know about tomorrow, but today, we are alive. And in silence, the digital diary ends here. We don't know what happened to Eliza and Tom, if they survived for long, but their record survived. A chronicle of courage, intelligence, and the infinite power of a mother's love. Their story leaves us with a profound question. In a world that punishes us for sound, what truly defines us as humans? Our ability to create, to love, to sacrifice. Can all of this exist in silence? If we were forced to abandon our voice, our music, our laughter, what would be left of us? Would we still be human? Leave your reflections in the comments. What do you think defines humanity beyond sound? If this story of silent survival moved you, subscribe to the Unseen Archivist channel and hit the bell. The stories we explore here are about monsters, yes, but they are, above all, about the resilience of the human spirit in the face of the impossible. In our next investigation, the story is about a group of amateur filmmakers who decide to make a documentary about a local serial killer known as Frank Stone. They just didn't know that, by investigating the past, they were, in fact, writing the script for his next film, and that the main actors would be themselves. Thank you for listening in silence. Until next time.